Yo, what's up, guys? It is the last day of 2020. Well, good riddance in a way, but hey, listen, I think we learned a lot this year about the world, about ourselves. Anyway, last job of the year, and I'm going to take you guys with me on this job. Now, I gotta replace an induced draft motor, but it all came in parts, and I got to build it before I take it to the roof and swap it out. It's an older Carrier unit, and I don't think I've actually changed an induced draft motor on this style of unit before. So I got all the boxes in the back of the truck. Let's open them up, put this thing together, and boogie on up to the roof. All right, here's our boxes of parts. Let's open these up. This is obviously a cooling fan of some sort. And this box right here is a big box of gaskets, but I think we only need one. So that'll be interesting. Okay, so here's all our parts. We got our motor, our blower wheel, cooling fan. We got this housing here, and then we got this gasket that fits real nice over here. But we have all these leftover gaskets too. I'm not really sure why, but anyway, this is what we need. But as I'm looking at this to build it, I'm noticing that there's something missing, because obviously this mounts onto some sort of bracket as per these holes here. So it looks like we're gonna have to go up and take the old one out to see if maybe there's some sort of bracket that this motor sits on before we move forward. Okay, so this is what we got here. This is rusted out. I mean, the motor, it still runs, but the bearings are tight. It's making a loud squealing noise. So we're gonna replace this housing, but it looks like this is the plate we need. I'm not sure why it didn't come with one, but I mean, for argument's sake, it's still pretty solid. It's got a little bit of rust on it, but it's not corroded or anything like that. So it's a solid bracket for now. And we're gonna change the motor, the housing, and then we gotta take this plate off right here because the fasteners are underneath inside. Like there's one right there. So we gotta take this plate off here to get to those fasteners. The plate off. This is the collector box here, and there's corrosion. You can see that. This thing is old. This thing's like 20 years old. So there's been some corrosion in this collector box. There's no holes or cracks or anything. And you can see that baffle right there from that burner. Now, this thing lights off nicely. There's no delayed ignition. There's no anything like that happening. But I think it's probably a good idea to maybe get a new collector box in here and rectify this issue with this baffle here. I think that's probably a good idea. But for now, we got to get this motor back in, and we got to get the heat back up and running, and we can deal with this at a later date. The heat exchanger's fine. That's been checked too. I mean, the burner, we got to maybe clean up the bottom here a little bit. The burner has some corrosion on it as well, but like I said, it's 22 years old. But back inside there, where it fires into, looks okay. So I mean, this unit's got its issues, but it's not a safety concern at the moment. But like I said, this burner box has got to get replaced. So I've got this out, and yeah, this thing is not intact anymore. You can see how the base on this has kind of fallen in, and the fact the motor's making a bunch of noise led me to this, and it led me to that. So let's get this back up and running. Let's go rebuild it downstairs in the warmth and figure out how we're going to put this back in, because see here where the screws go, there's little clips, but they're all corroded out. So there's not enough space to fit an impact driver in there to put new ones in. But I do have a bit. It's a flexible bit, and I think that's going to come in real handy to fasten this thing back on. Okay, so the set screws are seized on this. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the shaft right off, right through there with my little mini recip saw, and get this plate off that way. I picked up this little mini recip from DeWalt in the summertime, and this thing has come in handy on more than one occasion. So we're gonna cut this apart with this thing right now. So we're apart now. This is all cut. I got the plate I need, so the rest of this is garbage. Let's start rebuilding. Now, you'll notice some holes here in this bracket. That's because there's a cooling fan that goes on, and as the motor spins, the cooling fan cools the motor internals. So you got to make sure this is on the right way. So it goes on with the smooth part facing this way, because these blades here need to scoop air and move it through these holes in order to cool this motor. So we're going to put it on just like this. So this is all put together, mounted back up, brand new screws in there. Now, when you're putting the wheel in, you got to make sure that there's 2 flat sides here, okay? I always use both set screws every single time on both flat sides, because it's very important that this wheel stays in place, and you have to make sure that the wheel is far enough in that it's not causing a problem here, but far enough out that it's not causing a problem inside. And you can see that by looking in here. You see how it's too far up? Well, we have to adjust it so it's sort of sitting in the middle, right? Just like that. And it's not going to affect it when we mount it like this. So that's something to be cautious about. So I made a bit of a mess on this maintenance cart, guys. It's always your duty, if you make a mess, to clean it up, especially in a customer site. So that's what I'm doing. We're not too good to clean up after ourselves. Okay, so we're all built back up. We're up on the roof. The blower wheel's in the right way, and it's going in the right direction, and it's moving freely. Cooling fan is moving freely as well. I cleaned this up here, and I've put the gasket in. So now we're going to try to fasten this in using that flexible bit up from the bottom here. That extension bit I was talking about that's flexible, and these things do come in quite handy. So when you turn it, the whole thing turns, even if it's up on a 90, which is very, very cool. So my phone died as I was putting that last screw in. I couldn't finish the video for you guys, but just a tip. Make sure that cooling wheel is in the right way, and make sure the blower wheel is in the right way and it has enough clearance so it's not hitting the top or the bottom. Now I just wired it in, tested it, and everything ran fine, but it was a nice little job for New Year's Eve 2020. Happy New Year, guys. Looking forward to 2021.